Hi, friends. Happy Easter. It's Easter, so you know how it is. I'm risen from the dead and making sandwiches with bread. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
Kimberly's joining us for a live stream here. She wanted to say Happy Easter to everybody as well. She's hidden some eggs at your house. So if you haven't found them yet, you need to find those eggs. High normative years, or else they'll start to rot and smell. Okay. I told Kimberly that maybe people wouldn't appreciate her sneaking into their house to hide eggs, but she ignored me as usual. She just said, TFB, Happy Easter. Hey, look, it's TJ Music 24. Hey. And it's also
A bug on your screen.
Joe, 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 Joe.
Can you pull that poop off your screen?
It's not
Ooh.
what this? It's a black heart that Joey Jojo Shabadoo put. Happy Easter, Gilded Garden. Is your garden gilded with the dead rising? Well, then it's not an Easter. It's not an Easter guild. Oh my goal! Goal! Zombie pronunciation of my handle. Correct. Some guy named Curtis wants to be typed. I suggest you do if I wasn't enjoying this running joke of your ignoring him. It's not a joke. I actually am ignoring him. Zandy! It's not a party till Zandy shows up either. Okay, once you got Joey Chabadoo and Zandy around, well then within seconds, Matthew will necessarily arrive.
And then Sheila.
Right, and then Sheila later. Well, Sheila's not necessarily a foregone conclusion. Sometimes she's too busy uh, playing with her chickens.
I can relate.
Now, it should also be noted that it's very, very, very late elsewhere than here, because here it's 10 p.m. That means Matthew should long since be asleep. It's like 1 in the morning where he is.
Matthew doesn't have someone to tell him it's time for bed.
That's my job. Matthew, slumber time. Close your little sleepy eyes. Big yawns for little Matthew. Um. Oh, he just woke up an hour ago. Good. You got plenty of energy for this live stream. All right, now listen. I'm splitting this bong rip between Matthew and Zandy. So probably that's as close as you're going to get to intimacy. We're sharing a
He
bong
smokes
rip.
out with you?
Well, Zandy and Matthew just shared that bong rip. I don't know if they blew it back and forth into each other's mouths like that, or if they just said, "Here, chop up the smoke in half, and then I'll take half, you take half." We need that special horn sound after saying Joey Joe 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 Shabadoo. Ba 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 ba, like that. Is that the horn sound you're talking about? What are we talking about tonight? Well, one thing I would like to talk about is my ENTP student a little bit and how I like working with them a lot, and I also feel like I'm a much better educator and just person in dealing with other people because of cognitive functions. Like I feel very fortunate that I'm able to explain to these parents, like, this is what your kid's like, and this is what you should understand. Oh, is Andy married? Oh, well, you know what? I'm sure her husband doesn't mind that you shared a bong rip with her. Okay, Becky, is it appropriate for Zandy's husband to get furious because Zandy and Matthew just shared a transubstantiated bong rip? Or is that not? Should we validate those feelings? Or do we say, no, you're wrong for being jealous because Zandy, your wife, shared a bong rip with Matthew? Your birthday was yesterday, TJ Music 24. Are you now TJ Music 25? What the fuck? Who keeps liking and unliking? Captain Like and Unlike? I don't know. With only 8 people here, could be any of the 8 of you. Yep, 420. I don't smoke though. Nah, 28. Well. See, one of the things is the parents are there for every single one of the class. You're retiring from trying to hit on Jewel on Facebook from now? Matthew says he thinks he's going to leave married women alone. And that includes not hitting on Jewel on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, please don't, Matthew.
Here's the thing about that, Taylor. What I'm telling these parents sit there in the class with me the whole time, the whole 2 hours. They film the thing, they film me working with their kid, and they film all the demos and stuff. And so it's very much under, they're very aware of what's going on the whole time. And periodically they'll express frustration with their kid or whatever and be like, Jeffrey, come on, you got to do it. And what I mostly do is say, hey, you got to remember something. He's an EHP like me. We don't like that kind of stuff. We're not good at that kind of stuff. You just don't ask him to do shit that it's not helpful for you to ask him to do, And so that's mostly the role I'm playing in talking to them about their kid, is telling them, leave him alone, let him be an EHP, and be happy with that. And you got to understand, we have strengths, but we also have weaknesses. You can't be like, well, okay, yes, it's great that you're so clever and verbal, but we also want you to be super detail oriented and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work like that, Well, you should also know, Matthew, Zandy's husband is the leader of a biker gang called the Matthew Killers, incidentally. It's not related to you, but it does apply in this instance. I think you're using typology well there. Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it. Parents don't remember what it was like to be a kid when they get on them like that. Well, I mean, the thing is, Taylor, it is true that our nation's educators are woefully unprepared for the job, frankly, and not advocating on behalf of the students, really, like they should be. But I mean, I count myself in that category until I learned all about cognitive functions, which helped me to just generally get, oh, okay, I'm just projecting my own function bias here. Like, I was able to tell them tonight, they got 2 kids, right? They got a boy and a girl. The girl's the smaller of the kids, and she's going into 5th grade. And I told them, basically that next year, I will take them up on I will work with their kid as their coach and school. So in other words, I'll be their kid's only coach. But I'm not going to work with the girl because she's in 5th grade and it's a separate thing. But really, part of it is I don't really want to work with the girl because she's an ISTP. And I like working with Jeffrey because he's about everything, he's quick and he gets everything. And the only thing I got to do is rein in his NE because he's always trying new things on the fly rather than doing what I tell him to do. That's fine. I get that. The ISTP is a little bit more of a struggle to make into a winner in debate. I mean, well, look, it's like if you're a football coach, sure, you want all the kids who want to play football to participate in it, but that short, skinny guy, you're gonna go, okay, well, maybe horse racing would be a better sport for you. You know, ISTPs aren't very good debaters. You can teach them the TI; they'll get the TI, no problem, but they're ideationally dead in the water. So, you surprise them with anything, they're toast. And you can't help but get surprised occasionally in debate. And they're not necessarily quick about cross applying shit they know in novel ways. In fact, they can be very slow about it. They can debate through sheer stubbornness. The thing I always take away from when I teach ISPs is they keep wanting to get me to tell them, now, this is the one winning argument that you can always use to win. Of course, it doesn't, debate's not like that. There's always an answer to everything. You've got to always be responsive such that, yes, this is a strong argument as long as they're running. Yeah. It's like there's a interaction between the arguments from both parties, and ISTPs want to go in knowing how exactly they're going to win. And that's not really possible. You got to spend a lot of time prepping if you're an ISTP to have a chance. Okay, let's see. It's funny how even though when we've been kids, we a lot of times end up not knowing what to do with them. I've always gotten along well with kids, and they've always gotten along well with me. And basically, it's because I treat them with respect. I don't try to blow smoke up their ass. And I respect the fact that they're dealing with a world that continually is imposing shit upon them as though they didn't really have autonomy, And so I don't tend to presume the kids think this or feel that way or want this or don't want that or whatever. I tend to ask them what they think. And a lot of times it's the first time that somebody's really said to them, listen, I actually want to know what you think. For example, it's perfectly okay to think, I don't want to be in this class with you, Eric. This is a nightmare. I hate this shit. That's totally okay to think. It's the first time anybody really ever tells them that shit. Maybe Joey Joe Shabadoo is an INFJ after all. I don't know why I thought INFP when watching it. The always winning argument is I'm completely objective in my analysis. No, that only defeats an accusation of subjectivity. You can be objective and wrong. You can be objectively wrong in your objectivity. It could be an inappropriate circumstance for objectivity. There's lots of arguments that you can use against that. It's because witnessing childhood unfold brings up one's own buried bullshit. And usually those ghosts are tough to face. Let me turn up a little louder here. So sorry if I'm going to ease into it so I don't bust anybody's eardrums. How would an INTJ do in a debate? Well, INTJs do very well, but they are slower to get good. So, in other words, it's a stark distinction. With INTJs, what do you want? This? What? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, anyway, INTJs are really good. One of my best debaters ever was named Grace. One of maybe 5 or 6 debaters I'd say classify as among the best, examples of the best. The INTJ girl, Grace, she was qualified as fitting in that category. And I'll tell you that the distinction is she needed to learn and wanted to learn it this way, where she needed to understand the exact best wording of the resolution and internalize it. I would say, okay, make this argument, Grace. Say, we can't affirm the advocacy without encountering the violation, without violating the rights of a nation to have sovereign decision making power over its own borders, for example. Okay, so let's say I wanted to say it that way. We can't affirm this resolution in the way the AF wants, because to do so would run afoul of respecting the rights of a nation to have sovereign control over its own borders. And we ought to prioritize that over whatever framework my opponent is saying. She'd ask me to repeat it 3 times or 4 times, maybe, depending on how long it was. And then she'd repeat it. She'd say it back to me. I'd say, okay, now I'd say it once, and then I'd be like, okay, great, so try that. Give me something like that. And she'd say, can you say it again? And I'd say it again. Can you say it again? And I'd say it again. And just like fucking no affect at all. Just this girl was just flat as a pancake, okay, in her affect. Just no display of emotion at any point. And then after the third one, she'd go, man, repeat it back for me, perfect word for word. And she'd understand it conceptually as how it fit in with the other things. And so it was a matter of, if you're a good coach, you can probably do more with an INTJ quicker than you can even with an NTP, but you've got to coach them just right. And you've got to let them lead you to how to coach them. That's the great thing about working with Grace, was she always made it clear to me when she wasn't happy with my performance as a coach. And I like that. It keeps me on my toes, and it also allows me to more successfully have happy clients. Most of my clients are extremely happy with me. And the reason is I care a lot about them being happy with me. It's a third slide FE thing. My hours are always 64, 65 minutes at least, and the nice thing is, because I'm only doing shit I actually believe in, coaching debate, then I can be earnest and a pretty good salesman about my own product and say, no, it actually is this good, and I really do believe in it, and you should be this satisfied, and here's a bunch of shit why. What was that?
You knocked it over.
That's it. Okay. I knocked it over. It's true. No, it's fine. It didn't break. Where? Where did it break?
Right there.
Here? No, this is supposed to come off. No, it didn't break. It's fine. Hyperspace says that makes no sense in a real sense. Stop trying to sound so deep. Here's a middle schooler. Just think about it. I'm not even going to read the question, let alone answer it. Of course, you're a high school student yourself. You're young. So I guess it makes sense for you to ask it. That makes no sense in a real sense. I'm trying to sound so deep. XD. So you're closing your eyes and grinning at the hilarity of your comment there, huh? Hyperspace. I think you either need to spend some time metacogniting about your emotional response to things, because it seems dramatically inappropriate to the stimuli, or possibly work on improving the stimuli. One of the two. An argument is a thing that occurs between 2 or more people. It can never actually be a person. That's true. An argument's not a person. Good point. Check out New Debate on YT. I saw the link for it. Sounds like work. Just is on the same page as me, but I restrained myself. Well, you're a little older. I hope that wasn't sarcastic. What I said? It wasn't sarcastic. It was perhaps mocking or decisive in the round, one could say, would be another good adjective for it. or dismissive, contemptuous, disdainful, any of those things. I don't think I'd call it sarcastic, though. A lot of adjectives out there. Is ENTP type Enneagram unlikely? Type 5 Enneagram unlikely? I would say yeah, but I don't know how unlikely. It would seem less likely than a 7. It would seem less likely than an 8. I might even say it would seem less likely than a 6. Or a 4. Okay. Yes, disparaging. Indeed. Hyperspace, now we're on the same page. Host Eric, have you considered creating... Aw, why delete that one? That was your best comment of all. Host Eric, have you considered creating personality descriptions for the 16 types as an improvement to MBTI sociology descriptions? Or do you think this would not be feasible or valuable to do? I have considered it, and I am not opposed to doing it, and I don't think that's very harmful, but I think that the type descriptions, I think it would be a good thing for me to do. I'm waiting for the NI to collect, I guess, to do it. And I think maybe it has at this point, because there's a informational frame that I've stumbled upon here, which links me into authenticity or earnestness, which I normally can't really muster for anything. I have to find some sort of linkage there. And there has been a linkage in this instance because of all the shit I've been talking about with Becky and stuff. It makes me go, okay, well, I can do these type descriptions in a way that is framed through all of that stuff to make sure that people, they're not just functioning as type descriptions, but they're functioning as informative works about what a type description should be and why. And so if I can, in other words, the medium becomes the message, kind of. I think I got a good, it sort of just fell into place for me since you asked that question right there when you asked that question. I think I probably will make one pretty soon, just as a test of concept. What does your hat say? My hat says Warren Hills Cancun Jazz Festival. It's a pretty important jazz festival. Warren Hill himself put his name on it. And as I mentioned before, one of the things that's so remarkable about Warren Hill and his jazz festival, you will notice that he has spelled Cancun with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 different colors. 6. Count them. Red, green, orange, bluish, whatever, pink, and gray. His merch game is on point, as somebody said in a previous live stream. Waiting for the TI to collect equals avoiding the TE. Well, it means not doing the SE of it. The NI to collect actually, the way it just did coalesce, now I have a clear TE approach in mind, right? I know what I'm going to do with a type description and make it meet all the criteria I needed to meet. Long time no see. How's the music coming? Hi, Jordan. Did I not respond to your last text message? I don't believe I did, and I'm sorry about not responding to it. I got it when I was driving, and then sometimes I respond to shit when I'm driving, sometimes I don't. But anyway, I meant to respond to it. It was a nice message. I appreciate it. I just didn't respond to it. Music's coming along fine. I was working on something today that is called, I don't know what it's called actually. Current Malaise is what the title of the file is here, the multi-track file. But that's probably not the final title of the song. Regardless, I spent some time just sort of perfecting that little, it's not little, it's kind of a big-ish loop. It's like 30 seconds or something. And coming together. I want to hear more aggressive shit talking, host Eric. Says Taylor, well, man, I'm talking shit. How's that? Okay. Hello, Zandy, says Becky to Zandy. Hello, Becky, says Zandy in reply. Captain Cancun. Well, that's what the Warren Hill came to be known as amongst his family and friends, Captain Cancun. Jordan, hey, nice to see you. It's going well. Put out maybe only 2 songs. Oh, were you asking him, not me? Working a few and a video. Thanks for asking. Max G94. Hi, Eric. How likely do you think Type Enneagram 5 is for ENTP? Thank you. I'd say relatively unlikely compared to 7, 6, 8, 4. I think those 3 go ahead of 5. Maybe 5 after 4 there. That's the order, in my opinion. Jordan, how have you been? Says TJ Music 24. Oh, TJ, says Jordan, I've been fine. Gina, Jordan. Weak, says Taylor. Well, Eric, what is your understanding of consciousness? I have a feeling your work on personality could shed important light on this topic. How would you define consciousness? I would generally define consciousness as okay, it would be something like the manifestation of agency implicitly driven to align expectations with realities, or that which expresses expectation, that which manifests expectation, an expression of expectation consistent across time, something like that. It's a tricky question. I mean, saying what is being, really? What makes life distinct from non-life is identity. Consciousness is identity. The distinction of a living agent is that it has some intentionality, and that stems from this expectation thing. The fact that all conscious entities can have some relationship with actuality that differs from it. In other words, you can be hungry. Reality is you want, your being is wanting food. The reality might be there isn't any food. And then you got a conundrum on your hands, right? Your expectation that your body has, which is food, is not being met. So there's something implicit in that to consciousness. And the next thing I would say is, what do you want the definition of consciousness for? Because that's going to have something to do with how it ought to be operationalized. If you're going to, depending on what kind of arguments you're going to make, is going to relate to how you want to define it and where it's going to fit in your schema. So it's like, if you're going to run it as framework, then it's a different kind of argument, it's a different kind of definition. Sometimes you need to state the obvious in order to remind certain people to stay grounded in the right level of reality, nothing to insult about. Well, I mean, I don't agree that what you did was state the obvious. I disagree with this core statement there. And I think you were wrong on both counts. I think you were wrong that it made no sense. I think it did make sense. And I think you were wrong that I was trying to sound deep. And I further think that even if you were right about me trying to sound deep, that doesn't invalidate the things I said. So I think on that grounds, you're sort of triple wrong. So no, your statement here is not applicable. Sometimes you need to state the obvious in order to remind certain people to stay grounded in the right level of reality. You didn't need to say anything to me to remind me to stay grounded in any kind of reality. It's you who is not attached to reality at all. Your lack of tether thereto is indicated by the fact that you're making statements contrary to reality, like the fact that you needed to state something in order to remind people of something. You didn't need to say anything to remind anybody of anything. That's where you are, for example, untethered from reality. Okay, so Eric, come to the room. Will you stop with this come to the room shit, Abe? I get that you are upset about me not coming around to the rooms, but I'm busy. I got a lot of shit to do. If I wanted to go to the rooms, I'd be there.
Goodness.
I thought Z was unorganized in the opening monologue. I put my comments on there as I watched it. I'm sure he was. He's a smart guy who's burdened himself with a fundamentally unsubstantiatable position. You know, he can't sustain that argument chain. It's bullshit. There's nothing to it. It collapses under its own weight. Okay. Let's see what else we got going on here. That's actually why I like him, though, says TJ Music, because he doesn't make any sense. Motivation, intent, and expectation, says Planet Ketchup. I agree, those things are all relevant to consciousness. I saw your FE distress signals in the Facebook group. I just couldn't respond. Did I have FE distress signals in the Facebook group? I might have. I don't remember. My life is all music. I might go hard this summer with music production, get my foot in the door and see what I can do. I need to collaborate, get better with DAWs and ideas. Well, you're welcome to collaborate with me if you'd like, Jordan Spike. You can collaborate with me on this current thing I got going on. Oh, you're talking to him again, huh? Oops. My understanding of consciousness is that it is about what you are paying attention to. When playing the piano, one might be attentive to the mood of the song, but one is not attentive to one note. Okay, so it's true that consciousness expresses through attention. And it's certainly true that you could define consciousness in terms of attention. And that's why I was saying to you, what do you want to use it for? You know, what do you want to use the definition for? It matters as to what the definition ought to be as to what you're going to want to use it for. It is true that normally one can't imagine a form of consciousness that doesn't involve attending in some fashion, except there's certainly phases of our existence that don't involve willful attention, such as sleeping and dreaming. You're still conscious when you're asleep, but you're not willfully so or intentionally so, unless you're lucid dreaming, for example. So we might be able to talk about attention, but normally when one talks about attention in a colloquial sense, it's something that one pays, right? In other words, it doesn't happen involuntarily. And while it is true that we are attending in our dreams in some fashion to that which is going on in our head, much of the time we can't remember what happened during the night, so we weren't paying very good attention, and we weren't willfully doing so. We're attending but not paying attention, so to speak, you know? So that's sort of the limits, some of the limitations in using attention as a definition for consciousness, because it sort of begs the question, or elicits the question, I should say. I shouldn't do that. That's misusing the term. It elicits the question that, okay, well, if attention isn't necessarily willful or something that one pays, quote unquote, then how is it informative about consciousness at all? It's just saying, you're just saying attending to anything, whether willfully or non-willfully or whatever, the phenomenon of attention or observation, I guess you could say, is consciousness. Okay, well, yeah, sure, but what have you really added to the informational pile there? You're just still saying, okay, so consciousness equals attention equals observation. So if I go, look over there, Do I get 5 consciousness points? I don't know. It's a tricky question. You know, it depends. Like I said, it depends what you want to use the argument for. And that's the thing that people always forget. You know, people want their truths to stay put between and throughout arguments of different kinds. But it doesn't work like that. You got to be, all arguments occur in instances between two parties. Let's see. Damn, son, you just got called triple wrong. Yes, he did, Matthew. Oh, never mind. I was thinking of something else, says Jeff Barnes. Oh, I see. You're talking to, that's referencing your previous comment to Homeboy. Rowan Morgan. In my experience, an eye is unreliable in that it seemingly brings things into focus at random times and random situations. When I try to force a connection, it seems more like an E. Well, I mean, every function is unreliable insofar as it can't be counted upon to be determinate in any given situation. So you can't say good old rock, nothing beats rock, as Bart did, and expect to always use rock and rock, scissors, paper and win, right? So in that regard, no function can be determinate, but I would say NI is more determinate in its attention than other things. Zandy. I really like your laugh, Kim. It's so contagious and genuine. Smiley face heart. That's what Zandy says. Careglow. I noticed that ISTP has a hard time with understanding ENTP. You find this a true observation? And if so, what is it? Why the ISTP overreacts and is so easily offended? Well, Careglow, that was an oddly phrased question. But I would say it's because we're the supervisor type. So they're on the defensive before they even understand why. Just naturally, they'll get on some level that there's a supervisorial relationship between the two of us, that I'm always going to be one step ahead of an ISTP or 2 steps ahead or more. Just as an INFP is always going to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of me. And I've had this experience where, you know, I think I've mentioned this plenty of times before, where INFP began the relationship by telling me exactly how and when it would end. And it was right. And
what'd she say?
She said, you don't have the patience to wait for me, and you're gonna leave. You're gonna end this a couple months before I'm ready to go, because you don't understand feelings, basically. And she was totally right. So, shit happens. I mean, that's being multiple steps ahead of me, right? I had no concept at all. When I start dating somebody, I think, okay, so rest of my life, here we go.
Up to the county recorder we go.
Yep. Time to the notch. Well, Jeff Barnes, I don't think attention is the wrong word. I think, as I indicated, I think it depends on what purpose you want the thing defined for. How does TE manifest in ENFPs? Well, it drives them ultimately, just like FE drives ENTPs. They're driven by their ability to be efficacious. We're very happy to solve actual problems. So to the extent that I'm happy to succeed on an FE level and have people like me and think I'm smart or respect me or whatever, they want to actually solve problems. So I want to solve problems insofar as it makes me look good, right? But they just want to solve problems actually. Okay, so Taylor points out that yes, Eric is crazy fast for commitment. It kills me. 0 player potential. You're correct, Taylor. I have 0 player potential. I mean, first of all, I think this hat is what happens is my hat takes all of my player potential from my body and puts it in the hat. So the chicks end up having sex with my hats instead of with me. Let's see. David Kepke Peterson as in Jordan Peterson? Maybe. Or maybe you meant, nah, dog. Talking about Peter, son. Like that. An INFP I was seen for a long time told me I have no feelings. That's a good indication you might be an ENFP. Who knows? Who knows, Matthew? I've yet to formally type you, but I plan to soon. The same guy who claims that humans evolved from lobsters? I don't claim that. I don't think humans evolved from lobsters. I think they evolved from very small humans. In my theory of evolution, they don't get more complex. They just get bigger over time. Okay? So we started off on Earth, we had all the species to begin with, okay? But they were all super teeny, like little lead figurines on a board, basically. And then over time, over billions of years, they gradually evolved to get bigger. Taylor, you're right. This hat does have better game than me. Well, I mean, it carries within it the spirit of Warren Hill. Now, Warren Hill had some game, dog. He used 6 colors in his hat, plus a 7th with the hat color itself. He's not stingy on his hat making, is the key thing to take away from that. OMG, evolution doesn't get things more complex. It's all based on the environment. What? I hope everyone had a good Easter and enjoyed eating my kin. Ham Bone is here. He's here to ham. He's here to bone. He'll bone you in your ham. He'll ham your bone. He'll bone your ham. And then he'll ham your bone. He's Ham Bone.
Eric had for you.
I had that for lunch. I had that for dinner. Kimberly made a delicious ham. It was, of course, like my favorite kinds of donuts, glazed. Is FI just emotion? FI is just emotion. What's love got to do with it? What's love? The second-hand emotion.
It was terrible.
Oh, I'm sorry. My Tina Turner is a little rusty.
Shows your butt.
No, my ass, Kimberly. My INFP tells me it's fine and that he will just tell me my feelings. That's good. See, that's very helpful. That's good TE. Now that's showing some strong 4th slot TE there. If that makes me more tolerable for him, i.e. Did you say TE in INFJ? No. I said TE in ENFP. It's similar to FE in ENTP. TE in ENFP is the 3rd slot, and TE in and FE in ENTP is the 3rd slot. Yeah. You would be correct, ACS 19, had I been talking about INFJ, but I was talking about ENFP. Yeah, she's with an INFP. It's doomed to fail. I've already told her. I've warned her, but she's ignoring me. She's not breaking up with them right away like she should. Same thing you're doing, Taylor. I already told you your relationship's doomed to fail. You're not dual, so nobody listens to me. I want to break up their long-term relationships. Who knows why? Took that from a book. Consciousness is a small part of our mental life. Asking what aren't we conscious of is like asking a flashlight in a dark room to search around for something that it does not have any light shining upon. That's a good analogy. But I think we can nevertheless make a distinction between consciousness and not consciousness, because we can determine things that are, we tag certain things as not conscious, right? So how do we determine what's the distinction between a rock and a human? What this is saying is it's hard to determine what counts as part of our consciousness and what doesn't when we're reflecting on our own consciousness. But that's ignoring the fact that we can compare those things that are conscious to those things that are not. You're skipping too far ahead of questions, probably in an attempt to stay ahead. I am? What questions am I skipping? I don't think I was skipping questions. David, I just like the way he talks and thinks, I guess. I like him as a whole, not all the ideas. He deconstructs ideas a lot, too. A lot can be found. Koinoini? What does that mean? Koinoini? Are you talking about Zizek? Bang the Ham. Wait, took that from a book. My mom played that song all the time when I was little. Tina Turner. Damn, I really wanted to improvise some backing vocals there. I don't blame you, Matthew. Okay, so I thought my bandmate was an ENFP, but he recently said in regards to his playing bass for the band that he just wants me to tell him what to play and he'll play it verbatim, which doesn't seem NE. No, that doesn't seem NE at all. That seems very ISTP-ish or something. And if you are an ENTP, then him deferring to you in that regard would be extra consistent with ISTP. I read this while I listened just to that. I see. Therefore, you conflated your ears and your eyes. You got them confused. And for a moment, you heard with your eyes and saw with your ears. And that's what made you say the thing that you said. I'm really looking forward to your rap addition to Eric's song, Matthew. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I want to do that. I wasn't just blowing smoke, Matthew. I do want to do that. Can you slide over a little? The chat is blocking your beautiful face. Yeah, like this or like the other way. Hi, Kat. That's Mason. Mason not feeling well. Mason was vomiting earlier today. I want you to type him, Eric. Who? Bradley! I'm always thinking to myself, relationship's going to fail eventually when seeing couples. But I'm like, oh, well, they need to learn whatever lessons going to come from that. It's rather fatalistic of you, Brenda Lee. Have a little bit of concern. Have a little tenderness in your moisture for these other people, okay? Remember, they're damp too, deep inside. You know, I think one of nature's greatest sayings is don't tangle your anger into my damp towelette. And the reason is because damp towelettes only magnify anger. It's like dousing fire with gasoline. Okay, next. I would phrase FI as being about attitudes and less about emotions. Well, I would say you're wrong about that, Jeff Barnes. Just my perspective, but I would say FI is very much about emotions, that it's feeling the direct weight of things. All cats are INTJ, Rowan Morgan says. Rowan Morgan has spoken. He has spake. He spake, he has spoken. Thus it is spaked. And thus it is so. All cats from now on, INTJ. My favorite word starts with N. Can you guess what my favorite word is? No. Can you? Just tell me what your favorite word is. Is it likely an ENTP as opposed to other types would ask one girl several times over a long period out? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I would, yeah, actually. Yeah. Like, ask her out and ask her like a year later and ask her like a year later or something. Yeah, I think I think ENTPs are likely to do that. I don't know if they're more likely than other types or not, but I do think they're likely to do that. My ENFP bandmate had a desire for all us bandmates to just hang out for the rest of the time instead of just practicing the whole time and made a TE justification for us doing so. ISTP? Not necessarily. FI is an awareness of one's own emotions and happens to place a strong focus on them. Well, I think FI is underlying everything that everybody's doing. It's just most of the time it's, well, for me anyway, it's not very active. It's not a very significant factor in anything. So the reason I'm doing this is because I like doing this. Oh, Rowan Morgan's a girl. Sorry, Rowan Morgan. Well, Rowan Morgan is not a very girly name. It's like two boy names back to back. Is that really your name? Or is it an anagram? Is your name actually Wanor Ganram? Your real name is Wanor Ganram. And so that's why you changed it to Rowan Morgan. Okay, well, you may be a girl, but you should be aware that Rowan sounds like a boy's name.
Your name sounds like a girl name.
Erica? Yeah, it's a little girly. I don't know why my parents chose to name me Erica. I said, hey, couldn't you have gone with Eric? Okay, so in socionics, Eric's definition of FI would be FE. Well, that's because one of the things socionics has wrong. Introverted feelings means the feelings you have inside of you. Okay? It's the attachment you have to things, the weight you place into things. When I feel resentment and I'm upset because Kimberly's been unfair, that's an expression of the weight or attachment I have to the expectation that she was going to behave differently, to the idea that a person responds in this way to me is a loved one, and my modeling of what that should look like versus what I'm actually experiencing. So
I never behave ever.
Kimberly, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
I'm just saying. I'm just letting them
we
know.
both do that.
I'm naughty.
I'm not trying to bust your chops here.
I'm just letting everybody know.
If you'll let me
naughty.
finish my thoughts, you'll see I'm not trying to bust your chops.
Never said a word. I was just letting everybody know that I'm naughty all the time.
She's not. So the point is that in any given occasion,
When are you gonna put your earring back in?
a person has weight that they put on the thing. So it doesn't really matter to me if somebody who's driving in the car next to me shakes their fist at me and goes, "You jerk," or whatever, because that's not a loved one. I have low expectations for some random person driving. I may have done something that justifies it or whatever, and regardless, it's not a big impact. So in that regard, it's less likely to get my emotions up. Now, there are certain contexts where over time...
But you do have to lock my door. Because I'll jump out.
Yeah. So anyway...
Are you ignoring me and not including me?
I'm including you. I just don't think that that's true. That I think that things are a lot better than they used to be. Anyway, the point is, feelings are something that we should all sort of intuitively get what they are. We know what it's like when we have hurt feelings. We know what it's like when we're mad. We know what it's like when we're sad. We know what it's like when we're excited. Even polar FI people have some sense of that. And it's something we experience and feel ourselves. And what it is the feeling of weight, of importance. I'm excited because this is important to me. Maybe just because it's new and interesting or whatever, but it's important to me in some regard. Or I'm sad because I've lost something that's important to me. When my dog died, I was really sad. So if we need to remember at all times when talking about cognitive functions, socionics, whatever, we need to remember, let's not move too far away from the basics. We know what our feelings are. Other people's feelings, we also know what those are. Those are representations we have within us of other people's feelings. Those aren't actually other people's feelings. It's a model we're doing, right? We can't feel other people's feelings. We might get cues from their facial expressions, their body language, whatever, but we're definitely modeling what that means in our own head. We're not experiencing the feelings directly ourselves. So those are basic things. If we're moving away from that, those basics, and contradicting those kind of basic things, then we know we're on the wrong track. I don't know, 100 Mile Media. Bunch of shit. Big question. Two bigger question. Is pursuing programming as a career potential a dangerous move for a TE polar person? Probably. I would say yeah. Does confirmation bias really affect typing in any way? It really shouldn't. If it shouldn't be too impactful if you're talking about typing other people. If you're talking about typing yourself, It's only impactful, I guess, if you have TI as a tool function, you should be pretty objective about shit. Or dominant. Which song, Zandy the Whisper Shout or Springtime Love? I was having trouble with the Whisper Shout because too many of the rhymes I came up with are already used in the song. Well, you should deviate from the central term Whisper Shout and started with like I don't whisper shout, I hush time yell. And then you can rhyme with hush time yell thereafter. You see? No one's called Rowan around here. Is that a British name? Yeah, we got a Brit in here trying to infiltrate. It's Irish. It says Rowan Morgan. My name's Rowan Morgan and I'm an Irish lady. Jordan, for me, if I type someone as X type and then find someone else who seems similar to that person, I am very likely to consider them type X as well. That is confirmation bias, correct? No, that's a heuristic that's not, it's only somewhat reliable. So it is somewhat reliable. Like,
Show them your 3 kitty party without showing me.
oh, 3 kitty party. There's kitty 1, kitty 2, and kitty 3. It's Mason, Normal, and Vivi.
And now it's just normal and Violet.
Okay. So, whether you decide based on feelings or not, I think. Well, when we're talking about FI users in the front stack, what that means is they're adjudicating questions of legitimacy via an interested calculus rather than a disinterested calculus. When you're focused on the weight of things to you and the importance of it to you, then you use that as a determining factor. How important is it to me that it be this way? Very important. Therefore, it is this way. That's FI in a nutshell when you're dealing with argumentation or representational legitimacy. From a authentic legitimacy standpoint, we understand whether something is legitimate or not by the actuality of our feelings. You know, I might say, oh, it's, I really love this hamster and it's so important to me. And then it dies. And then I just go, oh, throw it in the trash and whatever. And it wasn't really very important to me. There's an authentic measurement of legitimacy of that relationship that's experienced as a feeling. So in that regard, if you're, depending on what you're trying to do, are you trying to justify words, justify your behavior in words and say these words are justification enough to warrant whatever, then FI is not really a very good tool function for that. But if you're trying to actually make a decision that you're going to be happy with and to know what is the best course of action for you in terms of your long-term satisfaction, well, then FI is a very good tool function to use. So it's like, if whichever way you're going to be kind of screwed in half of it. Bye, TJ Music 24. It's like, for a lot of things, FI is the right thing to use, and for a lot of things, TI is the right thing to use. And there's nobody who's equally adept at both, but INTPs and INFPs, presumably also ISTPs and ISFPs, are the closest we get to being good at both. Okay, let's see. I think confirmation bias only affects typings after the person has been typed. Examples that negate said type will be rationalized away. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to defend a type or something like that, potentially, I always try to be very aware of the best possible attacks against any kind of advocacy I'm making. So, including somebody's type. Well, how best would I attack this typing that I'm diagnosing this person as this type? How would I attack it? So I'm pretty good at saying things carefully and avoiding possible critique or possible argument change. And before I'm going to say, yes, you're definitely this type, I'm going to have a clear thought in my head, like I can win all the arguments on this. then okay. Boom. Okay, how about this question? Anytime he makes a joke and I attempt to continue it, he gets confused and thinks I took his joke seriously on a consistent basis is indicative of any particular type. I mean, that would be consistent with ISTP because it's like unipolar, not getting any. Partly because people don't want to be wrong. That's true. Didn't know you had so many pussies. I do. I've got a fourth one too. It wasn't pictured. Hyperspace at Jeff Barnes. That sounds like a representative heuristic. Yes, I agree with you on that one, Hyperspace. The kitty in my profile pic is a very sassy cat indeed. I can't really see it. It's so small. That could be ESTP. It could be, but they have a slot any. It shouldn't be surprising to them. At Hambone, that sounds true. Okay, I'm leaning toward ISTP. Lean harder. You're not leaned over far enough towards ISTP. You're still generally in the vicinity of ENFP a little bit. So just actually fall all the way over. Just fall over onto your side. There you go. Now you're laying on top of ISTP where you belong. So life's a funny thing. The way that it proceeds forward day after day until eventually it ends. And the way in which you have a finite number of days that continues getting smaller over time. It's quite the ticking clock scenario. If you're going to structure a person's plot, then you want to have a general ticking clock without a specific ticking clock. So it's like, no, I'm not going to die at 55, but I've got probably no more, at most half of my life left. And some of that's going to be not fully functional, probably. I'm not going to be able to kickbox still at 85. You may point out, Eric, you can't kickbox now. Hey, don't count me out. I haven't looked into it yet. I might take it up. I might be good. Who knows? I might be super good at it. I got long legs. I've kicked things before in life. I've kicked trash cans, kicked rocks, sometimes accidentally. So I should be pretty good at it. I've got 47 years of kicking experience and long legs. That's a good reason to go into kickboxing. What's the status on the shirts? We got some done, but I guess I need to make a determination on that. Like, okay, I need to sit Kimberly down and say, okay, do we have any shirts for sale right now? Who are these going to? Let's mail them out. I got to do all the TE around here. So, that's fine. She's a good teammate. I love the fact she's making shirts and, like one of the little conflicts we had is she wanted to put on one when we were talking with famous people with host Eric. I said, don't put with host Eric. And she put it anyway. But it's like, that's a good teammate, I don't think it's a good decision, but I appreciate her wanting my name on it or something, So, and who knows, maybe she's right about it. I am considering becoming a high school teacher. It seems like a good idea considering I'm an INFJ. My main issue is I consider myself a very introverted person. What are your thoughts? Well, Jeff Barnes, I think teaching is a good profession for INFJs and ENTPs alike. I think that it takes time. It's a difficult profession. Surprisingly more difficult than people think to do it well. The most challenging thing for you will end up being classroom control, like it is for everybody, including me still. Which means you've got a situation that inherently unravels. That's its nature. Because you got a bunch of people in a room who don't want to be there, by and large, or at least wouldn't choose to be there, or at best think of it like work they enjoy. You know, I don't mind going to work, but it's not, obviously it's not what I choose to do, but I don't mind going to work. So that's your best case scenario, right? And the thing is, the kids, even young kids, they intuit your level of dominance in that environment, which is difficult to attain. It takes years to attain it, where you walk in and you go, and the class just looks at you and goes, okay, we're going to have to stay on task here. And then you've got to actually stay on task the whole time. You got to throw up plenty of shit out there for them to be doing. It's got to be as purposeful as possible, because nobody wants to do purposeless shit, you know? And you got to respect their time, make sure that they understand you respect their time, and then ask them to respect some of your time as well, or give you the courtesy of their time for some stretch, because it's your job and you got to do it. Don't blow smoke up their ass, you know? Kids won't buy it. Did you ever confuse feeling for thinking and vice versa in the past? I think I used to not know they were different things sometimes. I think from early on, I dismissed feelings as like that irrelevant thing that gets in the way of logic or whatever. And I just didn't understand them. And when people would talk about their feelings, they just say, well, your feelings don't fucking matter. You know, like that. And be indignant. Like, how dare you talk about your caring about shit? That doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. That's not a justification for anything. Yeah. And, you know, in earlier relationships, when I was a younger man, women would say to me things like, but Eric, my feelings, blah, 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 blah. And I say, well, that's your fucking problem. You need to stop using your feelings to determine things. Your feelings clearly aren't justified here, okay? Look, I did X. You're feeling Y. But the thing is, my behavior doesn't justify your feeling. So you need to stop feeling that. That's the sort of shit I would tell my significant others, you know. Great. That's really great for relationship health. If you want to make sure you've got tender, loving intimacy and trust between two people, what you need to do more of is explain to people how, because from your perspective, your behavior didn't justify their feeling, that their feeling is invalid and wrong, and that they should stop feeling it. That'll help a lot. I have a pattern of dismissing other people's feelings. For example, I make a truthful but oppositional comment, and they are emotionally offended. I'm always surprised when they take it personally. Well, not surprised per se, but delighted. I have a long history of doing this, so I'm no longer surprised by their response, but I just enjoy needling them a little bit, seeing them squirm. Scram, scram, off to the peat bogs with you, I say. I can see as education in the United States as being completely online or from YouTube. That is to say, we won't need the classroom. Everything will be at one's own pace level. I mean, I agree with you completely, JS. 100%. I think that education needs to be individuated, particularized, and not standardized, and not run by the government, and not require people to compulsorily sit with a group of people that also are forced to be there that they don't necessarily want to be with, and who may very well be abusing them. I can see education in the U.S. Oh yeah, that's funny. What made you stop doing that? What made me stop doing the emotion thing? About you need to justify your emotions with a legitimate critique of, you know, there has to be a legitimate critique of my behavior, in which case your emotions are justified, but they're still irrelevant. What you get in return for being right in your critique of my behavior is my acknowledgement that I was wrong and apology, which is genuine. And that's it. That's what you get, you know. That's all I expect from you, is to immediately agree with me when I'm right and, you know, apologize for being wrong. Granted, you're going to be wrong about 90 times out of 100, and I'll be wrong like 10, and that's fine. That's just because you're more wrong than me, you know. Well, what made me stop doing that? Prioritizing my relationship over stupid shit. That's it. I mean, if you genuinely care about the success of the relationship, the well-being of the other person, and your own growth, then at a certain point you go, this definitely isn't helping. I mean, I read some things. I encountered some ideas that helped me to change that. Like, it either criticism kills love. It's a simple concept. And I think it's a very useful one. If there's somebody you want to love, don't criticize them. Now, that doesn't invalidate criticism in general. If somebody I don't love says some bullshit, then I'll criticize them away. I don't care if I kill their love for me because they don't love me anyway, and I don't love them either. And we're just combatants on the field of the internet. But you know, I do love Kimberly, and I guess another thing that really helped me to understand that to stop doing that kind of shit was to recognize the fact that in a lot of instances, Kimberly is expressing, well, in every instance, what comes out as an attack or anger or critique is actually rooted in fear or damage or something unrelated to me entirely. And so it helps one to understand the definition of knowing something. It's like when I genuinely came to accept that reality, that I'm not fighting that battle anymore. You know, it's like for a long time I needed confirmation that this isn't a he said she said thing. It's Kimberly's doing unhealthy stuff and I'm playing by the rules, the relationship rules. Well, that's true. But until I actually knew that, I couldn't stop fighting that battle. And that's the battle I kept fighting over and over again is, hey, this isn't like he said, she said. This is you're fucked up and I'm healthy. Okay, well, if that's really true, Eric, then believe it and act accordingly. Oh, you're hurting and in fear and damaged. So why am I yelling at you? You know? That's what it boils down to. It won't do any good to yell at her. She's been criticized plenty in life, and criticism kills love. So I don't want to criticize her, and I don't want to tell her how she's wrong. And sometimes I do still, but I bite my tongue, and I'm glad I did. You know, it's like being non-reflexive. It's what free will is all about. You need a new cap. Well, have you thought about Warren Hill's Puerto Vallarta Jazz Festival? Because he may have had one in Puerto Vallarta as well. If you haven't looked into it, you probably should be Googling that right now so you can get a hat from the Puerto Vallarta one. I hear it went off. I hear it really went off. I'm going to Google Warren Hill's Cancun Jazz Festival and see if there's anything on the internet at all about it. There is a lot. Warren Hill's Cancun Jazz Festival. Who is Warren Hill? I'm going to look at the images and see if I can. Yeah. Warren Hills. All right, let's take a look. This is the 2019 one. Oh, look, it still has 6 colors. Wow. This is pretty exciting, friends. The Bourne Hills Cancun Jazz Festival is being held October 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th of 2019. This coming October, we're all meeting in Cancun for Bourne Hills Cancun Jazz Festival. No, sort of. I'm not on full blast, but I took a couple of pills today to go to work and shit and do a couple things. But that's why 100 Mile Media is into democratic Sudbury schools, because there's individuated in terms of curriculums you can get. Well, that's good. Well, my feelings don't matter, says a person. Well, they matter to me, says the other person. Oh, that's sweet. Just think about it. That is so sweet. Feelings are one of those things like what happened today. Kimberly had her feelings hurt because the kids didn't stick around to do Easter with us or want to do everything for Easter. And she felt like a loser without any family Easter thing going on. And, my parents were going out of town or whatever. So the thing is, she was feeling resentful towards the kids, Delilah and Colin in particular, that they were going to other people's things for Easter and not staying with us. And I talked her through the whole thing in a very, I think, gentle way, which is to say, look, most people in the world, because she's focusing on, well, I wouldn't do that to them. I would do this for them. Blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, look, Kim, it's like the golden rule and the platinum rule. Most people are good at the golden rule, including you and including me, which is it's easy for us to treat others as we'd like to be treated. It's much more difficult to adhere to the platinum rule, to treat others as they'd like to be treated. And it's true the kids are not adhering to the platinum rule here. They are adhering to the golden rule. In other words, it's not the case that they'd want you to care like this about this, And they are treating you as they'd want to be treated. They'd want to not be obligated with shit, and they wouldn't want to obligate you either, So it's just a different kind of understanding of feelings. Everybody's feelings are active here in some way, and people are less than ideally or optimally manifesting themselves if they're not using the platinum rule. But most of us don't most of the time because it's hard to keep that shit in mind, and also it's not necessarily always a good thing. Just because I want to make you happy, I also still need to make myself happy. So it's like, if the way you want me to make you happy makes me unhappy, then it's probably not a good idea to do it. Do you know Kim's Enneagram? Yes. Kimberly's Enneagram is either 684 or maybe 648 or probably 684. It's one of those. It's one of that tri-type. I would say yes. She's a core 6, and in fact, she may not be an 8. She may be what people call a counterphobic 6. But I don't really buy that. I don't say I would distinguish from 8. So I would say 6, 8, 4. But yeah, I'd say she's a 6. She's very much about existing resources and keeping track of stuff and not wasting the potential of what we already have, What do you think of this? An idea is a mental configuration of objects created by a subject. I mean, I would say an idea is an object on a metaphysical plane. Is a better way to do that. The fact that it's created by a subject or of a subject in a subject experienced by a subject is necessarily so. There's never a idea that's not linked to a subject in some regard. So I would just say, and you can't have a metaphysical field or plane without it being part of an individual. So I would just say it's an idea is an object on the metaphysical plane. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Kimberly's gone to bed, and I'm feeling thirsty, and I don't have any water out here. And I think I'm gonna maybe chat with Matthew if he's still awake after this. So, good night, everybody. Thanks for being here, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Happy Easter to you too. Really?